Welcome to episode 79 of the Hail Mary podcast. I'm the Toves, and as always, I am joined by my wife, A Toves. We are back, and we are starting off with an episode highlighting the UTSA soccer team. Let's get started. All right, we're happy to be joined today by a special guest, Derek Pittman, head coach of the UTSA soccer team. Hey, coach, it's becoming an annual thing, and I love it because we get to talk soccer, and specifically this time we're talking 2024 UTSA soccer team. So thanks for taking time out of your day to join us on the podcast.
I appreciate it, man. Andrea, thank you guys for having me on. I look forward to this every fall. We get to kick off the fall season with a little soccer recap update. I don't know, a preview, whatever you want to call it. I'm always excited to talk about our team and our players and where our program is going. So I appreciate you guys and your support.
Awesome. Thank you. So let's start out by discussing last season because it'll kind of set the base for the season preview. So you've said many times you play sort of an entertaining, highly organized brand of soccer. And for many, the entertaining part might entail thinking it's wide open, right? And so that theoretically kind of leads to you're going to be open to a lot of goals because of the fact that, you're going to be caught on counterattack. Yet 2023 team allowed a UTSA program record of 0.72 goals against average. Tell us a little bit more about that defensive mentality last year and just that drive that led to that record defensive season.
Well, I'd like to say it was on purpose, but I'm not so sure. No, in all honesty, like as a goalkeeper myself, coming from that perspective, growing up I was a defender early on when I was playing youth soccer, and then eventually somebody threw me in goal, and I actually enjoyed it and was pretty darn good at it. So it just stuck, and I kept going from there. But I definitely would say that's has always been the framework, or at least the starting point for me in how I view the game. How can we be organized? And my dad used to say this all the time when I was a goalkeeper: is if they don't score on you, you can't lose. And so that having the mentality to get shutouts and always be difficult to break down, always be, a team that is just hard to score on. That's a good place to start and a good foundation. I also don't mind the phrase of defense wins championships. And I look back to where we were even in 22. We had a tremendous, I think, less than a goal a game that year. And so, it definitely came to fruition last season in the American and our first year in the league, that we were, I think, ranked in the second or third in most every defensive category, only behind Memphis and maybe one other. So really proud of where our team was at organizationally. I think the entertaining side of things is we don't, in the sense of defending and not giving up goals, maybe some people on the soccer side of things thinks we're packing it in and we're parking the bus in front of the box.
Right.
That's not what we're doing. I would be bored to tears and angry if we did that. We want to be known as a high pressing, highly organized group of players that are very disciplined in what we're doing without the ball. Our players know when we lose the ball, if we happen to fall out of possession of it, that we have certain triggers. We have certain things that they need to be doing and recognizing and ultimately looking for. And so sometimes that's counter pressing. If we're close in proximity and we can immediately win the ball back, we want to be, sending numbers to the wall to make teams uncomfortable before they have a chance to regain possession. If for some odd reason ball goes out of bounds and the goalkeeper is restarting it, et cetera, then we're going to probably reset in our shape and try to get back behind the ball and get us to where we need to be. So we always want to be again, like I mentioned, a high pressing, highly organized team that is playing on the front foot, aggressive in how we press. We're extremely physical. We're not afraid to punch teams in the mouth, if you will, figuratively speaking, in the sense of how we play defense and try to get after it. I firmly believe the higher we win the ball up the field, the closer we are to the goal we want to score on. And so, let's cause some problems that way. And so, very proud of our team and how well organized and a well-oiled machine last year, stopping most teams and making it difficult for them.
Where did they some of the players maybe have kind of walk around with that swagger that you've had that many shutouts, or I'm just kind of curious there because it felt
Yeah.
like that's something to really kind of I don't know if it was known to the team, but it just felt like they had that defensive swagger.
I think they know they're very confident in how we play. They're very confident, and we go through our game model, if you will, our playing style
Yeah.
throughout the preseason, and obviously have different periods where we remind our players of what uh, we need to do in those situations. We want to dominate possession. We want to get a hold of the ball. We want to be effective going forward and scoring goals. But we also want to make sure that we don't give away goals needlessly. So yeah,
Right.
they definitely know. I think they're so rehearsed and it's so ingrained in them in regards to how we defend and what we do when we don't have the ball, that they do have a sense of confidence, and they definitely have a sense of belief that no, okay, so what? We don't have the ball. That's okay. We can still control the game without the ball. And I think that's an important factor. I think in a world where everybody's talking ticky-tack or whatever, possession, this,
Yeah.
possession, that, let's build out of the back, which is fine. I think that is the beauty of, I think, again, all of sports, but really in soccer, is that there are so many ways that you can play the game. You can be
Yeah.
direct, you can be possession, you can build through the lines, you can be a counter-attacking team. There's so many different ways that you can play the game. There's no right or wrong answer. And we just know who we are, and we believe in what we do, and we cause as many problems as possible for teams that we play against.
Last season, you transitioned from a very talented goalkeeper in Mia Krasinski to a freshman in Jasmine Kessler due to the injury. That could have been a very pivotal and maybe chaotic, transition, just depending on, because it's such a key position, right?
Right.
But Jasmine came in and she managed to get herself in the record book, having number one goals against average. She's now number 3 with save percentage. So very impressive season. So tell us a little bit about the strides that she made coming in as a freshman last season.
Yeah, to be honest, when we started last season, Mia Krasinski was our starter, and she was earmarked to be that. I think we have at that time last season, we had a very talented goalkeeper room, with Mia leading the way and her success she had for us in 22, leading us to a championship. Isabel Herod at the time came into preseason being in a backup role, but also a very talented goalkeeper that is a great teammate. And then Jasmine Kessler was an unproven freshman back last August. I knew the one thing about Jasmine is she can kick the crap out of the ball and freaking send it 50,
Yes.
60
Yes.
yards. She can ping a ball. She kicked field goals for a high school team back in high
Wow.
school.
Wow.
Yeah. So she's a talented, gifted kid when it comes to being able to ping a ball. And so we knew that, for any freshman, you just never know how they're going to adjust, how quickly they're going to adapt, how quickly are they going to be able to pick up the speed of play and be able to step into that type of role. We had discussions with Jasmine. Hey, listen, assuming it all goes well, me as our starter, we could potentially redshirt you, and we could talk about that. Well, again, Mia started off fantastic. Unfortunately, picked up a concussion injury, over the Labor Day weekend when we were out in California. Isabel Herod stepped in fantastically against Cal Baptist and got a shutout against them, in a 0-0 game. And then when we got home and we knew that Mia might be out for a little bit of time, we just let it we sat Jasmine down and we sat Isabel down and Izzo, and we said, listen, you two are going to have to fight it out. Whoever's the best goalkeeper at the end of the week, that's who we're going to play, and we're going to go from there. And I thought both of them handled themselves extremely well. Jasmine, as you know, won out the job. And we just said, okay, here we go. And we, as the season progressed, we were bringing Mia back into the fold, and but Jasmine was playing so well, and honestly, the back line, I think, in some regards, was getting more and more comfortable with her and familiar with her. And although she's very much a different goalkeeper than Mia, they adapted well, and full credit to Jasmine, she adapted well, and she made some massive saves. And it's kind of one of those things is maybe as a young player, when you get thrown in, you don't know what you don't know. So you just go and do it. And
Right.
so in some regards, that is exactly where Jasmine was mostly all season. And even down the stretch when Mia was fully healthy for the last 4 or 5 games of the season, we had a dilemma to make as a coaching staff. Like, what do we do? Like, Mia's very much talented, but Jasmine's playing very, very well right now. What is the best answer? And, right or wrong, I stuck with Jasmine because I was working at the time. I think, our goals against and our shutouts were very, very good. Yeah. And so I think Jasmine's absolutely taken that confidence that she gained from last season into the spring, into the summer. And yeah, she's been very sharp this preseason as well.
Well, okay. Here's the elephant in the room. There's one big issue last season was goal scoring opportunities, especially in conference play, right? Because you only scored 5 goals in 9 conference games, though you only gave up 6 goals, right? To your credit, I remember you mentioning it a few times at the end of last season. Did you acknowledge that there were some offensive issues, right? Like they just didn't get the ball in the back of the net as much as you would have liked. So can you tell us what were some of those factors for that kind of, I guess, quote unquote, scoring drought last season?
Coaching, coach. No, I mean, again, I go back to, in some regards, maybe my mindset was, has always been maybe a bit more conservative. I don't want to give up goals. I want to make sure we shore up things, as I say oftentimes as a team, we shore up things at the back. We want to make sure that we're just not giving up needless chances. And to be fair, we've got some talented group up front, and that has been a big focus for us this season, is that we need to score more goals. And there's a couple different ways to do that. One, you can recruit goal scorers, and we have a couple, and we went out and got the likes of Izzy Lane from Delaware. Yeah, even Tyler Coker, who's somebody that we feel is going to be able to score goals for us. She struggled a little bit last year in her freshman year, coming back from a knee injury that she had in high school. Is absolutely hitting the ground running. Jordan Walker, really, in all honesty, last year as a junior, this year as a senior, has just now settled into being a forward. I joked with somebody earlier today, even Jordan Walker spent her first season here playing as a midfielder, and then her second year we tried to train her as a center back, and I didn't like that. And so we eventually put her back up front, where I should have probably put her all along. So, she's getting more and more comfortable. Again, the likes of Olivia Alvarez coming out of the midfield, to Jordan Highland and other players that we had last season and ultimately still have this year. We've just got to do a better job. We've absolutely focused in this preseason here. Our services have to get better from wide channels, the crossing, putting it into the right areas. And we got to get numbers in the box. And those numbers, when they get there, they got to be organized. They got to be sharp. They got to be in the right places, so that because many times it's not always the first contact that scores the goals. Many times
Right.
it's the second, it's the knockdown, it's the scramble. But we got to get the ball delivered in the right spot. We got to get numbers there, and then we got to have hungry players that want to go and put those in the back of the net. So it's definitely been a big focus for us this season. It's not for the lack of chances. There's many games, even in the American Conference or American Athletic Conference season, that we were entering the opponent's 18-yard box almost sometimes 2 times as many times as they were entering ours. The problem is the crosses weren't great, the deliveries weren't where they needed to be, or we weren't showing a level of composure in the box when we got it to be able to finish. And so I would be really, really worried if we weren't creating the chances. But I know that we are. It's just a matter of now getting the players in the right place to ultimately put them away.
So kind of going into next season, or going into this season, we're picked to finish 8th in the conference in our preseason poll, but that will put us into the conference tournament this year if you finish at 8th or above. What are your initial thoughts on that ranking, and what are the team's thoughts on the ranking?
I love it. I love it. I do listen. I've said this before to other people as well, is that, coming off of the championship in 22, going into the American in our first year last year, we weren't quite sure where we were going to shake out, where we were going to fit. The Americans a very good soccer conference, especially before SMU left. I mean, the likes of Memphis, who's top 10, top 15 on a regular basis. South Florida has a strong history of being a top 50 program. East Carolina has always been really, really good. SMU is a talented group as well. So last year we just weren't sure where we were going in, right? We knew we lost some key contributors from the 22 season, likes of Kendall Close, Isa Hernandez, and so on down the list. So going in to the 23 season, it was like we knew we had some pieces that we needed to replace. And I think what we found out after the 23 season is we are not near as far off as what we originally thought. Like we're much, much closer against the top three teams in the league, SMU, USF, and Memphis after last year. All of them were 1-0 losses, and they weren't like below. It wasn't like we were holding on and they outshot us 25-2, and we just bunkered in. We were really aggressive. It was a great game against Memphis. They scored an absolute screamer to beat us.
Yeah.
SMU, we made an error on a free kick that we wish we had back, but we did. And they win the game 1-0, but we had 7 or 8 quality chances at the other end. Same thing with South Florida. They beat us on a free kick that we should have dealt with in the box. But we had 5, 6 handful of chances. So it wasn't like we didn't have chances. What we learned is the margins are just so much smaller. Like in the Conference USA, we could play at 75-80% of our abilities and maybe still pull off a 2-0 or 3-0 win or somebody against an opponent that we were better at. In the American, you can't do that. Every game is a dogfight. Every game, every team is tight. There's very few blowouts in that regard. I mean, I think our biggest blowout we beat Temple 2-0, and that wasn't easy up in Philly. So and they finished at the bottom of the league. So like same thing, Rice just above them. It took everything we had to beat them 2-0. We were up 1-0 and didn't score the second one until the last 10 minutes of the game to put it out of reach. So every game is tight. Every margin is tight. Our players are learning that every chance, instead of getting 15 chances in a game, you only get 7 or 8, and you better take 1 or 2 of them. And so from that standpoint, I think a lot of people are they ranked us where I thought they would, right? Of course they did, because that's where we finished last year. But I know our players are excited. They definitely have a chip on their shoulder, which is good. I love coaching teams that have a chip on their shoulder with something to prove. And I think that's where our kids' mentality are right now. And I'm excited to get this thing rolling this week.
Perfect. So let's go back to the forwards, because I'm going to keep, ribbing you on this. You mentioned Izzy Lane. But in terms of the forwards, like, can you tell us a little bit more about some of the things that Izzy Lane maybe brings that's different from previous forwards? And, if there's any other forwards you want to bring up, or maybe even a possible breakout from the forward group.
No, I think, absolutely. I start with Jordan Walker, right? She's a big, strong target kid that can big in the air, can ping a ball. She has deceptive pace. She can when she gets moving, she's like a Mack truck. She ain't stopping, anytime soon. She will run you over. I just love the kid. She's this country kid from Burleson that just loves the game and fights and competes and battles. And she's just continuing to polish her game each and every week. So I love what she brings to the front. Again, absolutely. Izzy Lane, I recruited her out of high school when she chose to go to Delaware. And thankfully, she wanted to jump in the portal, and we were one of the very first phone calls she had. She is absolutely rapid. She's rapid, quick, can absolutely very powerful runner, can fly. So if Jordan's holding the ball up, Izzy's running behind and stretching the game. And, things that she's working on is just to continue being more composed in the box, to deliver more quality. Right now, I tease her. She takes 6 or 7 chances to score 1. I told her, you're going to get 2 or 3. You're going to have to cut that down. You're going to have to, you got to take those qualities and she is training her butt off right now to continue polishing up that part of her game, but her work ethic and her pace is going to be really, really important for us. I think breakout wise, Tyler Coker, 100%. One of the better attacking players that have come in to the preseason, doing what we thought she could do from the get-go when we recruited her. Being originally from Albuquerque, moving to New Braunfels, and then coming here. She's just in a much better headspace as a sophomore, with a year under her belt. She's got some deceptive, creativity to her. It's just a goal scorer. She wants to score goals. She wants to get shots off. She could have had one or two even in our preseason game against Corpus. And she was dangerous against Baylor. Other attacking players, Macy Geltmeyer, Addie Johnson, who's a freshman that just came in. Again, these are all players that have the ability to cause some problems up front. And one of the sneaky ones right now is Michelle Polo. That kid is
She scored.
Yeah, she scored against Corpus. She had 5 shots and 3 on target. She was our player of the game against Corpus. And the cool thing is that as she came in as a freshman, she just continued to get better with each week. So by the end of the season against Temple, she even scored a goal there and started playing significant minutes as the season went on. She had a tremendous spring. I thought she was one of our better players this spring in her growth and development. And that's just carried on into her role and her position for us, in the team now. So there's definitely some weapons and some talents that are starting to show up. And, so we're excited to watch that continue as we go into the season.
So Olivia Alvarez was one of 3 players that you had on the preseason watch list. What should we expect to see from her and some of the other midfielders this season?
If you know Olivia, you know that, first of all, she is one of the top 3 fittest kids on our team. The kid is an Energizer bunny and never stops. She just runs box to box nonstop. She's not afraid to put in a shift, and just her work ethic is tremendous. I think what she brings to the midfield is a ton of energy. She's a clean passer. She loves to move the ball, be involved in the attack to create opportunities. So I think her coupled with players like Jordan Highland, again, Sophie Morin, shifting around a couple other players, but like Bree Kerrigan is a freshman that have come in and been really effective. Transfer from Memphis, Luli McFarland, has been fantastic in training. Hannah Warnken as a sophomore is growing in her development as a wide midfielder. And so there's definitely a lot of pieces that are growing, and I feel very comfortable with where our kids are at. And one of the other Memphis transfers was a kid we picked up, Zoe May. Zoe spent most all of the spring playing as a center back, but here in preseason has moved into more of a defensive midfield role and has been tremendous. Is dictating play. She's got the ability to ping a ball left foot, right foot, great in the air, really good organization, which allows the players in front of her to be creative and aggressive and go on and try to score and create goal scoring opportunities, which is really helpful. It's allowed us to feel that position. I mean, Serena Russ did that job for 4 years for us, 5 years, and she was phenomenal at it. And Serena never did things that showed up in a stat sheet, very few goals, very few assists, but the kid broke up, had more interceptions, broke up more plays than probably most. And Zoe is even better than that, which is awesome. Then we did our job. We continue recruiting better and better players.
Yeah.
And but Zoe has just got a tremendous head on her shoulders. We're thankful to have her. She's a great leader on the field. So a combination of those, it could be any number of combinations there in the midfield. We'll have to wait and see what that shakes out to be.
I'm glad you brought up Serena, because I did want to say real quick, I just remember I always kept forgetting who she was. And by the end of the season, I was like, oh, that's Serena, because I just kept seeing this player just continually, as you mentioned, cut off the ball. And I was like, who is that? Where we're sitting, sometimes you can't see the number. So, you get blocked or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I'm glad you did bring that up because she did absolutely do that dirty work that you need from some of these defensive midfielders to kind of get us going. But I love it.
Well, it's funny. I talk about Serena. I used to tease her. I was like, listen, you're gonna have some competition this season. Somebody's gonna come in and because and Serena knew it. Like Serena was one of the most hardworking, blue collar, tough nails kid. Win balls in the air, win balls on the ground. She was just a destroyer. I loved what she did. She's a disruptor. She didn't let
Yeah,
teams get in the rhythm. But I was always looking for somebody that could cover a little more ground, be more a little more athletic or whatever. And I would tease her about it. Like, and inevitably, by the end of the season, it was like I couldn't take her off the field. Like she would lead. She was always top three in our team every single year she played for us. She was always top three in minutes played at the end of the season. I think she missed out. I mean, Deja Sandoval broke the record for most games played in a program's history. I think Serena's like 3 or 4 games behind her because she had an ankle injury her freshman year that kept her out for like 4 or 5 games. And then after that, she never came off the field. So yeah, she was definitely a big, massive part of our success over the last 3 years.
absolutely. All right, so let's get to one of my favorite parts of the team. Probably yours too, is the defenders. Obviously, again, you have two defenders on the watch list. Sasha Dade, amazing player. Sabrina Hillier. It's like your two wide defensive players that are just terrific. Last year, you brought up when we talked. You talked about this girl named Haley Lopez, and you said, "Oh, I saw her and I wanted her." And when I watched her play, I was like, totally get it. Like she's the perfect complement to me to what you had with Deja.
Yeah.
So it was just really great watching them play. This year, you bring in a familiar last name and Cameron Cloza, obviously Kendall's sister. It looks like the defense continues to be the strength of this group, obviously. And you mentioned before, hey, I'm always going to have a good defense. So what are some of your expectations for this group this season?
Yeah, they're our most experienced group, right? I mean, you're absolutely right. Sabrina Hillier is going to be in her 6th year. She went to University of Arizona her first 2 seasons. She redshirted in 2019 and then COVID in 20 and came to us in 21. And thankfully, 19 and 20 didn't count. So I got to have her for 21, 22, 23, and I convinced her to stick around for 24. So
Nice.
yeah, so she is the grandma on the team. She is a leader and just she's just that kid that comes in and punches the clock each and every day and then does 10 times over what's asked of her, right? So Sab is fantastic. She has done a lot for our program. She's a cornerstone of this team and this program. As an outside back, she can get forward and get into the attack, or simply be a lockdown defender against an opponent's attackers. So she's a big cog in the wheel when it comes to our group. Everybody knows Sasha Dade. Sasha Dade is the most fiery, intense competitor I have ever coached. That kid will fight me on the field if the ball goes out of bounds and I don't call it. Like, I mean, she's just that intense, which I love and I respect. I mean, it's what makes her special. She's an absolute winner, and she continues to grow in her role as an outside back and in the role that she has as a leader as well. And she's a vocal player. She's going to tell people where to go, how to do it, etc. You need that. Haley Lopez was tremendous. So I think I've told the story before, but Seminole State College, the junior college from Oklahoma, came down and played us in an exhibition game 2 springs ago. And she shut down one of our top attackers in that particular game. And I literally walked up to coach, like, who is that? And he was like, Haley Lopez. I said, well, she committed anywhere? He was like, no. I was like, I need to talk to her. And so, like 2 weeks later, they played North Texas in another spring exhibition game. And there was moments where she was shutting down North Texas's attackers, who I have a lot of respect for their program. They always have athletic, fast kids. And so I was like, if she can do that against us and then turn around and do that against them, she's going to be just fine. And
Yeah.
so yeah, I love Haley. She, here in her senior year, is ready to go. She rested a lot in the spring. She had a little bit of a knee injury that she had to get over, and she's really 110% now, which is awesome. Really focused on building a lot of strength on her through the weight room, and she's been in a good place. And then yeah, you can't go without mentioning Cameron Closa.
Yeah.
I, I loved coaching Kendall, and Cameron is that and then some. She's they're different players for sure. Kendall had a big personality. Cameron's a little bit more subdued. Um, you know, Kendall was a fiery kid. Cameron's a little more composed. Cameron is a monster in the air. Anything within 5 feet of her, she's going to get her head on it and clear it out. She's also very good at dictating play, which is awesome when we're trying to calm the game down and dominate the possession piece. She's very calm. So yeah, to watch her go through the adversity that she went through at Texas Tech and with just the injuries, she had a good experience there otherwise. But kid tore a knee in her senior year, and then unfortunately the graft failed a year later, and then she has come back and she has been an absolute monster for us this preseason, and has fit in very well, not just on the field but off the field as well. Just her personality and who she is. Their family is special to me. The Closes have been some of my biggest cheerleaders and advocates for our program, and I'm definitely grateful to have another one on the field for the next 3 years.
Nice.
Yeah.
So we've talked a little bit about Jasmine already, but tell us a little bit about Isabel Herod and some of her development over the last year.
Yeah, Izzo's been fantastic. Yeah, some things that we continue to challenge her with is just her distribution, her decisions in dealing with high balls and things like that. And those are all things that she continues to improve on. Her shot stopping ability is very good. She's got quick reactions. The thing that I love about Izzo is she has aspirations to be a coach one day. And so she conducts herself in the goal as such. And so she's very much a leader. She's directing. She's very good at connecting with players off the field and just understanding and communicating with them. She, as an older player, she has a nickname. They call her Papa. And basically because she's the one telling everybody where to go and corralling the little kids where they need to go as the youngins. And yeah, she's just a great human being. She wants to play, no doubt about it. Jasmine just has a certain level of abilities over her. But I know that if for some odd reason we have to make a change, or if we had to put Izzo in, she could handle the situations that she'd be put in. And so I know our players feel that, and so does our coaching staff. So yeah, we're very thankful to have two very good goalkeepers. We tried to go after a third in the portal, it just didn't work out. And so we feel confident we can take care of the two we have. Colleen Pitts, our goalkeeper coach, has done a phenomenal job developing both of those two this preseason and getting them ready for, our season opener.
Awesome. All right. So we had Sasha Dade, and now we're going to flip a little bit here, but we had Sasha Dade go and represent Samoa, but it was off season. Sophie Moran has represented Ireland. She's been called up a few times during the play. How do you and your staff kind of manage the roster and team kind of chemistry when she gets called up?
Yeah, so in recruiting Sophie, I knew that she was involved in the youth team with Ireland, and that was an agreement we made in the recruiting process that if called up and still in the fold for the U19 youth national team, that we would let her go. I'm not sure if I knew completely what I was agreeing to.
She's a talented player. So,
Yeah,
I mean,
I wasn't sure all of the dates that they're, that
Yeah.
that we were going to be missing her, but no, I mean, listen, Sophie's fantastic, and I felt a bit for her because although again, huge accomplishment to be able to do what she did. So the
right.
nice thing is they had a tournament towards the end of the fall last year, but they would have a camp earlier. So she'd have to go in for a 10-day camp, miss 3 or 4 games for us, and then come back, integrate back into the group. Not always an easy thing because we may have won games, lost games while she was gone. And then it's like, do I throw her right back into the starting lineup, or do we work her back in? Like, what does this look like? And then just, it felt like just as we were getting up, clicking in it, and she was back in the fold. I mean, I look back to the FAU game, one of our last home games that we had. It was like on a Thursday night, and we absolutely battered them, like outshot them 19-3, had like 10 or 11 corners. Like, it just seemed like there was a lid on the goal, unfortunately, last season, it seemed. And then that night was no different. But honestly, they got 2 shots off, or 1 shot off, I think, in the first 10 minutes. And then after that, I don't think they crossed midfield. And one of the biggest reasons was Sophie Morin. She was all over the place. She knew the very next morning she was going to get on a plane and fly back to Ireland to join, her team. And so this was going to be her last game for us in the season, unless we, made it into the conference tournament. She would have come back into the conference tournament, but she was going to be gone for the next 10, 12 days. But she was just buzzing. She was flying. She was making the big difference. And even the head coach on the other side was like, listen, 4 wouldn't even let us cross midfield. She just seemed like every time I looked up, she was winning a tackle or disrupting or making an interception. And so, yeah, it just, and unfortunately, I think that's just kind of how the season went. She was in preseason and did really well, then had to leave. Then it came back and did really well, and then had to leave. And, so it was definitely difficult, but she's a big piece of our team, personality wise. Her IQ, her tactical and positional awareness is really, really high. And so, the spring wasn't as bad. I knew she went into a camp early spring and then had another tournament late spring. And then, how the team did, making it all the way to the final 8 teams for the European Championships. And that was the first time Ireland had done that in like 14 or 15 years or something like that. And so then that had her going into Lithuania late July. And so she missed July with us. So saying all of that, I am really grateful to be able to, coach her. I'm grateful for the experience she brings into our team. I think everything she does is at a high level. I think it's been a difficult struggle for her going in and out of the team and trying and her settling. But now this past event for Lithuania was the last time she can play for the U19s. So she's with us, but I told her my hope is that we continue seeing her develop and get better, and maybe she gets called into the full team.
Absolutely.
Not against that either. That's not a bad thing. And we must be doing something right to attract those types of players, continue hopefully developing those types of players, and hopefully sending them on to their next opportunity. But yeah, so we've got her. She's here. She missed the first exhibition against Baylor, just coming back into the States a little bit late, but she's back in the fold and has been in all the training sessions this week, and excited to have her back out on the field soon.
Well, briefly, I know that there's been all of this news in the media about NIL, about the NCAA, paying players or in the future. And we tend to hear a lot about NIL, pay for play, all of those types of discussions in relation to football. But we haven't really heard a lot about how that's going to affect women's athletics and some of the other Olympic sports. So I know you don't have a lot of answers, but, what are you seeing and what do you anticipate the effect being on your team in the future?
That is a great question, Andrew. Listen, you're seeing it in basketball on the women's side. You're starting to see it on softball at the high level on the women's side. You're seeing it in volleyball. It's definitely starting to happen in the soccer side of things. It hasn't maybe happened as a huge amount here at UTSA, but it's definitely something that's very much on the at the front of our minds. How can we grow this? How can we use some NIL opportunities? As of right now, our players, it's been great because they've been able to go out and seek opportunities on their own, and several of our kids have, and put a few extra $100 in their pockets from month to month, which is, I think, what the intention was originally to be, not
Right.
what unfortunately has become, where we're talking hundreds of $1,000s or millions of dollars for some of these different sports and positions. And sadly enough, NCAA opened this Pandora's box, and you can't put the smoke back in the cigarette, if you will. So you've let it out, and so now we got to adapt, and now we got to adjust. And we're working with various collectives here in town to continue growing the support we have for our program, and I hope that within the next year or two we can start taking steps forward. I know there are some American teams, American athletic teams, that have already started doing this on the soccer side. And utilizing it, whether it be for recruiting or such. But the big thing is for us, we want kids coming here because they want to play in a championship program. We want kids coming here because this place is special and our culture is special, not because I'm going to pad their pockets, not because I'm going to put a little bit of extra money in their, under their pillow kind of thing. Like it's, I get it. And the finances play a part, no doubt. But at the end of the day, we want people that want to come here because they're high character kids. They want to work hard. They want to compete at the highest level, and they want to play, in a program where the coaching staff really, really cares about them and wants to see them be successful. That may seem cliche, but that's just what our program is built on and who we are. And so I have to decide as a head coach, right? Like, what does that look like with NIL? Is this something that we get a pot of money and we spread it evenly? Is that to give it to certain positions, et cetera? I know everybody is different. I've even had discussions with some of our other coaches. Soccer is a little different than maybe other sports. Whereas in softball, you want to go buy yourself a pitcher, right? Or you want to go buy yourself a hitter. You want to buy maybe two pitchers. I mean, like,
Yeah.
those things. But obviously, soccer, we want to buy goals. We want to buy goalkeepers. If we're going to buy some significant positions that really contribute to winning. But I also want to be doing it the right way. Like, I didn't get into this business, and not many of us did, to be paying kids, right? It was about the education. It was about the growth. It's about the development in the college game. And unfortunately, things have changed now, and we all have to adapt. We all have to adjust and figure out what that looks like. So we definitely want to continue growing our NIL support here with our women's soccer team. And we're definitely thankful for everybody that's want to contribute to that.
So the first game of the season is Thursday against Navy. What are some of the keys to victory in that game?
Just being us. Yeah, I mean, early in the season right now, everybody is trying to, we're none of us are at our complete product at this point in time. We've even if your kids have been in since July, yes, we're really fit and we feel very strong physically. We've only had 2 weeks, 2 exhibition games to be able to kind of implement our playing style, get everybody adjusted. Thankfully, we do have 9 seniors and a pretty solid group returning. So it hasn't been like overhauling and teaching a bunch of freshmen where they need to fit in. So that's been beneficial. We've been able to kind of skip some steps, but accelerate some steps as we go through our preseason preparation. So for me, it's about carrying out our objectives, who we are. We're going to be highly organized defensively. We're going to be really intense and aggressive without the ball and with the ball. And we want to create goal scoring opportunities. And at the end of the day, we want to execute set pieces, especially early on. Set plays matter when there's not a whole lot separating 2 teams and separating our preparation in the preseason. These early games can be won and lost on, checking out on a corner kick and not, carrying out your assignment, or taking advantage of a moment where, somebody makes a mistake, so there's definitely opportunities there. And we're super excited to play our home opener in front of our home crowd and play again in San Antonio as a military city. to be able to play one of our, academies with the Naval Academy is super exciting. Even our volunteer coach that we have, Joe Roberts, is a 27-year vet of the Naval Academy of Navy, and he was a lieutenant commander, and so we get to honor him, have the color guard out. Again, it's going to be a fun night. We led the league last year in the AAC in attendance. We hope to do that again this year. We hope that we'll have well over 1,000 people at the game tomorrow night. At least that's the hope. And everybody will come out and support us and cheer us on. So hopefully we get the fall semester off to a positive start when it comes to our sports here at UTSA.
Yeah, absolutely. We know we'll be there for that one. We're also looking forward though to Toyota Field, because it seemed like, we did get a chance to talk to you and the team at the soccer kickoff dinner, and Olivia and Sophie were just so excited because we sat with them and they were incredibly excited to play at Toyota Field. They were talking about just like the entrance, just everything leading up to that. Can you tell us a little bit more, I think, of just about some of the things maybe you're expecting even then? You talked about this big blowout for this first game against Navy. What about UIW and Toyota Field?
Well, I'm going to use some coach speak on you. I'm not even thought about UIW, right? So,
Sure.
and we have it. I to be fair, like our focus is 1,000% on Navy and what we got to do. Obviously, in the back of my mind, it's still a lot of planning that's going on behind the scenes when it comes to UIW and the BLD play there at Toyota. It's just something that I've been kicking around for several years, talking with various people within the organization at SAFC, even in our own department. Hey, how do we pull this off? What does this look like? How do we make this work? And Jake at UIW and I had been basically talking about it. We kind of threw it around back in the spring, like, hey, this would be really cool. And I was like, yeah, man, I've been trying to do this as well. Like, if you're on board with it, let me give it a go. And so I reached out and had enough people kind of reach out to me and was like, hey, if you want to pull this off, let's see what this looks like. And so thankfully SAFC signed off on it and was like, yeah, it doesn't interfere with our games. Let's make this happen. And so, yeah, through a lot of people's hard work and creativity and really fortitude to kind of push through this process, we made that happen. Yeah. For me, I want players that want to come here and play pro. I want players that want to come here and play at the highest level. And so the opportunity to showcase themselves in the best soccer venue in our city is super cool. Super cool.
Yeah.
And, we've all been to USL games out there to cheer on SAFC. I've been out to their training sessions. I'm thankful for their partnership. I'm thankful for their friendship. In supporting us when we won a championship in 22, they happened to win a championship in 22. So that was really cool to be able to celebrate with them, and them even have us out last year at the beginning of 23 to bring our trophy and honor us before the game was super cool. And our players had a great experience. So the opportunity for them now not to just sit in the bleachers and walk the tunnels, walk out on the field, man, this is something, even if they don't go play pro, this is something they will forever remember. And my hope is we can find a way to maybe do this on an annual basis, whether that's us and UIW always playing or whether it's us and somebody else. Now that we hopefully pull this off in the right way, SAFC sees it as beneficial. We see it as beneficial, and something that we can do on an annual, yearly basis.
So last question real quick. As people have seen on social media, you guys had penalty kicks against the football team recently. If you haven't seen it, you guys can go out to Instagram and see the reel. How disappointed were you in the fact that it came down to your penalty kick to win that contest?
As you can tell, that was not planned. Like, I'm literally going, we're down to our last shooter. We make it, it's over.
You kind of jinxed it, I think, a little bit.
Probably, but I'm thinking I got Sasha Day, my fifth year, player. Surely she can just pick a spot and pass it into the net, and we're gonna be all right. And I didn't care where she went, and she was like, I've never felt so nervous in my life. And I was like, great. And but honestly, it was a lot of fun. It couldn't have been any better, I think, for video purposes because there was drama and
Yeah.
Yeah.
it was exactly what we wanted to. I have a tremendous amount of respect for Coach Traylor. He's a really good friend of mine that I talk to, on a regular basis. And to be honest, as a measly little soccer coach, to have a relationship with our head football coach in that manner is really special and something that you don't get every day. And just to have respect for how he carries himself with his program and his players. We talk a lot about culture and how to, a lot of things we do here with our soccer program, even before he got here, were similar things that he's doing, and obviously his is much more publicized, and his triangle of toughness and the pillars that he has in his program. We have the same thing with our core values and the cornerstones that we've built this program on. We both believe that culture matters and culture is what wins. You win with people, and you win with people that are bought into doing the things the right way at the right time and and for the right reason. And yeah, so it's a lot of fun to be able to partner with him, and I was able to convince him to come out and do it. It was not, I mean, I literally, after our fifth shooter, well, they made their fifth one to tie it up 2-2. I walked up to him, and you don't see this on camera. And I go, he goes, what do we do? And I go, well, you can pick a sixth, and I can pick a sixth, or you and I can just solve it right now. And he goes, done. And so, and what was hilarious is, I mean, like, guys were awesome. Like, one dude's massaging my shoulders before I'm taking the kick, and he's like, Coach, you're a little tense. You sure you can do this in tennis shoes? Like, are you sure? And like, you guys got a pro. I'm like, I was a goalkeeper. I didn't ever take penalties. And what's beautiful is right as I'm striking the ball, one of our media people took a picture, and I need to get it, so we put it on. Our players are going like this, going, is it going to make it?
Wow.
So I'm like, you guys had zero faith in me.
They
Zero.
did.
Yeah.
Zero. And I had all the faith in you guys, and you had none in me, but I had to pull this thing out. But it was a blast. It was an absolute, I think, and we talk about this in the department. We want to do more of these things. I told our girls, like, let's see if we can go hit a softball pitch. Let's go see if you can return a serve from the volleyball team. I don't know.
Yeah,
I guarantee you guys can't do, and it just brings a certain level of respect for each other's sports and teaming up. And because that is a big piece of what Dr. Campos and our administration try to do here.
Yeah.
Is our motto of run as one. We support each other. We're each other's biggest cheerleaders. I want Coach Hallmark to do well. I want Coach Aston to do well. I want to see all of our programs elevated to a high level. And I hope that we can obviously keep our soccer team moving in that direction, and why we're excited about this fall.
Well, look, Coach, appreciate you taking your time here. I think you guys are gonna have a great season. I've been, trying to find videos and trying to I feel like I'm kind of doing part of your job now, because I'm just trying to see what kind of guy, what you got, what you recruited, right? So it's just
Send me, if you do any scouting, just send me the notes. Okay.
I will make sure to do that. I absolutely will. No, but seriously, but yeah, it's just been fun. Really talking about the team and really getting to know some of the team members. And yeah, like we said, anytime you want to stop by and talk with us about the team, let's do it. So thanks again. Have a great season.
I appreciate it, guys. I love chatting with you all. I appreciate your support. Thank you for everything you guys do for not just our program, but our entire athletic department. It is greatly appreciated.
Thank you.
Before we go, let's talk a little bit about some of the things we learned about from Coach Pittman on his interview. First of all, Mia Krasinski. We knew that she had a long absence. We knew she had an injury. Did not know that it was a concussion that was suffered over Labor Day weekend, and that had ramifications because it keeps her out essentially for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
But it gives rise to Jasmine Kessler, a true freshman who beat out Isabel Herod, or Izzo, and essentially had a week to battle it out with Izzo for the starting position. It's those type of stories that are kind of interesting that a coach drops on us every now and then when we talk to him.
Yeah, it's such a pivotal role. And I think last year we had questions about, we knew that Mia was injured, and we had questions about why he chose why he chose a freshman over a veteran who had transferred in. So it was interesting to kind of get to understand a little bit of that thought process and what had gone into that selection.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, Jasmine really does change the field because of her big leg, which leads us to another thing we didn't know about her.
Yeah, how did we not know until this interview that she had kicked field goals in high school?
I'm blown away. Like I thought it was a small school, but it's not.
Yeah, when we went back and pulled up her bio, sure enough, it's right there. She was the first female Texas 6A high school football player to score in the playoffs, kicking in the third quarter against Bridgeland in 2022. She played for Klein Collins High School, and she was recognized by the Texas High School Coaches Association. Like, how have we not heard this story before? It's incredible. I mean, like you said, Klein Collins is a 6A school. This isn't like some, small middle of nowhere Texas town.
No, this is a big school. This is a school that has probably plenty of options.
Right. And talented, players that are likely playing in P5 right now.
Right. And here's our own Jasmine Kessler here at UTSA that was kicking field goals. Just shows how athletic she truly is. And it's just, I don't know. I mean, it makes sense now when I saw her kicking those soccer balls as far as she did. I mean, I guess Coach Traylor should be looking over at the soccer field just in case he needs a little competition for.
I mean, if Chase Allen gets injured again, he wants to bring somebody else in. Look, we got Jasmine.
Yeah, it's just absolutely awesome. And I think I'm excited to see what Jasmine does this season. Obviously, we're talking a lot about the goalkeepers here. There was other great stories about, Tyler Coker and how some of the injuries that she suffered in high school. It's interesting of just how it mirrors some of these other UTSA teams where the coaches have taken a chance on players that got injured maybe in their junior, senior year, had trouble bouncing back. They get their freshman year, they essentially have a little bit more of a rehab here at UTSA, and now they're ready to make a mark on the UTSA record book and on the field. So it's certainly a really good feeling, I think, when it comes to the UTSA soccer team.
Absolutely. As we mentioned earlier, the home opener is Thursday, August 15th, 7 p.m. at Park West. If you can't make it, the game will be streamed on ESPN+. This is a non-conference game, so for those of you that might be wondering why, because it is Navy. Navy does play in the American Conference for football, but in soccer, they play in the Patriot League. So that's why it's a non-conference game. On Sunday, UTSA will be playing UIW at 6 p.m. at Toyota Field. We encourage everyone to go out and see the game. I think it'll be a really great opportunity to see these girls playing in a professional setting. They're all very excited about it, as Coach Pittman mentioned. The tickets are only $12. All seats are general admission, and parking is free.
It's going to be, I think, a great environment for them to play in. Not like Park West isn't, but, he's right. It's just a special stadium, kind of like the Alamo Dome is. Mm-hmm. So good for them. Hopefully we get a lot of fans out there, and hopefully we get to see a victory.
Yeah, I mean, the last few times we've played UIW, it's been as an exhibition game. Those games have been a little chippy at times, so I think it'll be feisty. I think it'll be interesting to see how this plays out, even though it's been a number of years since we actually played them in the regular season.
It should be a lot of fun.
And other athletic news, it was announced this week that Dr. Campos was appointed to a 4-year term on the NCAA Division I Football Subdivision Oversight Committee. She'll be representing the American Conference. This committee supervises procedures for the licensing of bowls, the selection procedures for the FCS championship, and they provide direction to the NCAA Football Rules Committee regarding different playing rules. I imagine Coach Traylor has already been in her office and given her lots of insight about the things that he would like to see changed in the future. But I think it's really exciting that we're going to have, representation from UTSA as that American Athletic Conference representative on this committee.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for her, her star continues to shine. I mean, she's an outstanding AD, and hopefully it doesn't entertain offers for her. But that's just me being selfish as a UTSA fan.
Sure. There's also 2 events that are going to be happening on Saturday. The first is the Football Fan Fest and the very important trailer bobblehead pickup at the Convocation Center from 1 to 2:30.
Who doesn't need a bobblehead?
I know. It's the long-awaited trailer bobblehead pickup.
Right.
Those of you with kids, there's also going to be, it sounds like a bunch of family events, face painting, autograph signing, that sort of thing. So it should be a good time for everybody. In addition to that, the UTSA volleyball team will be playing an exhibition game in Austin against UT at 1 o'clock. Another interesting fact for the UTSA volleyball team is that they are offering courtside seating this year for the first time. So those of you who feel like you have cat-like reflexes and wouldn't mind getting potentially pummeled by a high-flying volleyball
Or player.
yeah, you can complete an interest form. They will be allocating those tickets based on their RAF loyalty points, so something to take advantage of.
Yeah, absolutely. I know you're afraid of it, but it's...
Yeah, I will absolutely not be signing up for courtside seats. No, I do not have cat-like reflexes. I think we all know that.
It's just the women's basketball team that we'll be at the court side for, so that's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. Well, I think that about wraps it up for us here at the Hail Married podcast. Thanks for joining us. I'm Atovs.
And I'm the Toves.
We'll be back soon with our fall football preview.
Birds up.